Have you ever met someone who simply feels different? Not loud, not strange, not trying to stand out. Just different. The way they observe things, the way they speak, the way they react to the world. They don't rush to follow trends, they rarely chase approval, and sometimes they seem slightly disconnected from the social noise around them. Not because they're arrogant, but because their mind is operating on an entirely different frequency. And the strangest part? Even they often can't explain it. They walk into a room and instantly feel like an outsider. Not rejected, just out of sync. While everyone else laughs about surface-level topics, their mind is already asking deeper questions. Why do people behave this way? Why do conversations stay so shallow? Why does everything feel so performative? Psychology suggests that people who experience this persistent sense of being different often belong to a very rare cognitive personality pattern. Not better, not superior, simply wired for deeper processing. And if the traits we're about to explore sound familiar, you might be one of them. Let's start with the first sign. You think in layers, not straight lines. Most people process information in simple categories, right or wrong, good or bad, black or white. Their brain prefers quick conclusions because it saves energy. But your mind doesn't work like that. When you hear an idea, you don't just hear the surface. You immediately notice contradictions, hidden motives, patterns connecting things that other people completely miss. A single conversation can trigger 10 different interpretations in your head. Psychologists call this complex cognitive processing. Your brain doesn't like shortcuts. It likes systems, which explains something else you've probably experienced your entire life. Small talk feels exhausting. Not because you hate people, but because your mind craves depth. Talking about weather, gossip, or trends feels like eating empty calories. Your brain wants meaning, connections, ideas. And when those things are missing, your attention slowly fades. But depth of thinking often comes with another unusual trait. You feel emotions intensely, but quietly. You notice things most people overlook. A tiny pause before someone answers a question. A subtle change in tone. A forced smile that appears half a second too late. You read people before they even finish speaking. Psychologists describe this as high emotional attunement. Your brain constantly scans the emotional environment. But here's the paradox. While you're excellent at reading other people's feelings, you rarely express your own emotions openly. Instead, you process them internally. To outsiders, you might seem calm, even mysterious. But inside, your emotional world is incredibly rich, loud, colorful, deep. And that emotional depth leads to another rare pattern. You chase meaning, not medals. Most people organize their lives around visible rewards, status, recognition, comfort. But those things rarely motivate you for long. You can achieve something impressive and still feel strangely empty afterward, because your mind is searching for something more fundamental: purpose, truth, understanding. Psychologists call this trait self-transcendence. It's the desire to explore life beyond material success. It's why surface-level goals often feel hollow, and why you might find yourself asking questions that others rarely consider. What actually matters in life? What makes a life meaningful? Why do people chase things that never seem to satisfy them? But this search for meaning produces another unusual ability. You see through people almost instantly. Not in a cynical way, but in an observational way. You notice hesitation, tone shifts, contradictions between someone's words and their behavior, fake enthusiasm, hidden insecurity. It's not magic, it's pattern recognition. Psychologists call this interpersonal sensitivity. Your brain quietly collects small social signals and turns them into surprisingly accurate conclusions. Which means something frustrating often happens. You sense manipulation long before other people do. You notice dishonesty early, but when you try to explain it, others don't see what you see yet. And that creates a strange feeling. You feel like you're watching the same movie as everyone else, just 10 minutes ahead. Which brings us to a trait that many rare personalities share. You rarely feel like you fully fit in. Not because people reject you, but because you refuse to pretend. Many social environments require a certain amount of performance, agreeing with things you don't believe, laughing at jokes you don't find funny, acting excited about trends you secretly find meaningless. Most people adapt easily, but you struggle with that. Authenticity matters too much, so you often face a quiet choice. Blend in or stay true to yourself. And more often than not, you choose authenticity, even if it means standing slightly outside the crowd. But living this way comes with another fascinating psychological pattern. Your mind never stops talking to itself. You're not just living experiences, you're analyzing them while they happen. Your brain constantly reflects, questions, evaluates. You replay conversations in your head, not out of insecurity, but out of curiosity. You want to understand what really happened beneath the surface. This level of self-awareness can be exhausting, but it's also why people often say you seem wiser than your age. You don't move impulsively, you move intentionally, which leads to one final trait that surprises many people. When chaos appears, you often become the calmest person in the room. While others react emotionally, your brain switches modes. It observes, analyzes, calculates. Psychologists call this cognitive control under stress. Your emotions don't disappear, but your mind temporarily steps back from them, allowing you to think clearly while others panic. And in a world driven by emotional reactions, that ability is extremely rare. But here's the important part. If you recognize yourself in these traits, it doesn't mean you're better than anyone else, and it certainly doesn't mean life becomes easier. In fact, people with this type of mind often face challenges others never experience. Loneliness, overthinking, feeling misunderstood, the sense of seeing the world too clearly. But that deeper awareness also gives you something powerful, a perspective most people never develop. And once you understand how this rare mindset actually works, you can transform what once felt like isolation into one of your greatest strengths. Because in part 2, we're going to uncover the hidden struggles people with rare personalities face, why depth often leads to loneliness, and the one psychological shift that turns being different into an incredible advantage.